Hi everyone, I'm Rosemary Miller here with founder and CEO of Joggy and TYB, Ty Haney. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Ty, how did you become a serial entrepreneur?
Yeah, good question. I started a company out of Parsons Design School at 23 here in New York City. And really the mission was to free fitness from performance and build a brand that inspired young women in particular to move their bodies for the fun of it, for the joy of it rather than the pressure to perform. And really I started this because I knew this way of life, having grown up in Boulder, Colorado, that's super outdoorsy, you're hiking, you're biking, etc. And realized that movement really makes you happy. And so built a brand, the first company, based on that premise.
Yeah, but 23, that's so young. Like, what pushed you? Was it your parents, your friends? You pushed yourself into it?
It's something, I've always been someone that loves to embrace the beginner's mindset.
Yeah.
And so like trying as much as early as possible to know what you like and what you don't like. And for me, I had grown up an athlete, had definitely grown up with kind of the traditional, more male focused kind of performance brands, and very much just had this different vision for me as kind of a young woman. And so I painted this vision and went and raised money and built this company into getting many hundreds of thousands of people literally doing things with us.
You make it sound so easy. I painted this vision, I went and raised some money. Like,
I know, a lot of just having the courage and confidence to try, and then some works, some doesn't. Refine, perfect, get good at mastering the fundamentals, but that really is kind of this cyclical process that I've become quite good at.
Did you always believe you'd be successful?
You know what's funny? I just did a talk kind of speaking about the parallels between fishing and entrepreneurship, and I used an example around learning to fish when I was 7, and it was something my dad wanted me to do, and I was like, I don't really want to fish, but I went out there, I tried, didn't like it, it was, kind of slow, and then on the 3rd day caught a fish and was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And that little kind of vignette is something that I've packaged, I call it like an achievement story, and something that I've focused on collecting many moments like that. And really the headline there is, when you can, like as a person, like not be good at something, try it, get better, and then master it, you can become a more capable and ultimately person that really believes in yourself. And that ultimately has been what's inspired me to, at the end of the day, have the courage to start a company at 23, raise money for the first time. And I think of it as setting a vision, going up and executing against it, but really believing that it's totally possible.
Well, I'm a Mississippi girl, so I know what you mean by fishing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Ty, what challenges did you face at that time?
So it's funny, the first 5 years were quite awesome, and like the momentum was palpable and tangible. We had raised $60 million, and so had expectations to grow at breakneck speed. And I think like 6 years in, there were really difficult board dynamics. Operationally, we had a lot of issues because of how quickly we were trying to grow. And then thirdly, I was a first-time founder, so a lot of blind spots. And so it was interesting because I think 8 years in, after putting all of my energy into building this thing and it really being kind of all of my identity, I had a very public and dramatic exit. And so had to sit with that and figure out what I wanted to do next or how to react. And like it felt personal and I couldn't quite understand it. But ultimately, like in fishing or in sports, I decided to cast again and start 2 new companies.
2 new companies, congratulations. Well, I'm curious about the fundraising process. You were young at this time, and I'm sure you had to pitch your company.
Yeah.
Did people not take you seriously? What was that like, gaining the confidence to even do that?
Yeah, you just start. And so I know it sounds simple, but that's the reality. Like having the courage to just start and like not be good at it at first is the key. And so,
how many no's did you hear?
Oh, I think I've said various numbers throughout the years, but there were a lot of no's to get to the yes. But then all of those no's were essentially what allowed me to perfect and refine the pitch and understand like who I was ultimately raising from, and I got really good at it. And so that entire process and that journey in terms of mastering the fundamentals and knowing that some of the setbacks are only going to make me better, like really allowed me to figure out how to be great at something like fundraising.
So what advice do you have for young women who want to be like you?
Yeah, it's quite simple, but I believe that movement, finding ways to be active, should be as foundational to your everyday as eating, drinking, and sleeping. And literally, if you're having a bad day, a bad conversation, I didn't get the job, like, it's just chemistry. Move your body and you get your endorphins going, and you can change the way that you're thinking, the way that you're feeling, and prime your mind to have an optimistic, totally possible mindset through a simple tool like movement.
So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the money. How do you invest your money, and how do you plan on gaining generational wealth?
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I invest my time in building from zero brands or companies. And so it's funny because a lot of people after like the kind of public exit of OV were like, are you going to build again? And I was like, of course, I'm built for this. I'm born for this. And so really I think about taking big swings, and I'm really into sports, so a lot of sports kind of analogies, but more shots on goal are required to essentially ultimately get the goal in, or get the ball in the goal. And so that from zero mentality, building from scratch, is ultimately how I think about creating the most wealth for me, specifically in the team and anyone who's part of that, I guess, as an entrepreneur and builder today.
So you invest in basically more companies rather than real estate, stocks, those things.
I go quite laser focused on building from zero and have full belief in my ability to set a vision and then build a team around it to go execute. So here we are, round 2.
All right. Well, what's next for you?
TYB, I'll tell you briefly, it's reinventing loyalty for consumers and brands, and it's pretty fun. It's a play-to-earn community platform. And then Joggy is an energy brand, and we make clean energy drinks and supplements. So think replace Red Bull, which has synthetic caffeine, with something much better for you, and tied to this mission, which will be my through line of maximizing happiness through movement.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.